Okay, so today we're going to learn how to use punch cards, specifically for the Singer knitting machines, Singer, Studio, and Silver Reed. One thing that you're going to need to know, first off, is what your levers actually do and how they function. Okay, these are your side levers. Forward position means they're not going to be using the pattern drums to read the pattern for the punch card, okay? But when you have them set back, each time they go across, they are reading the pattern that is right here on the punch card. Currently there is none, but once we put it in, you'll see that these change, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. Okay, I keep it on lock when I'm not using it. All right, so that's what your side levers do. These are your Russell levers, and you're always going to want to keep them on 2 unless you're doing short rows or you're wanting to skip over certain needles. You're only doing, partial knitting. Okay, so full knitting is 2, partial is 1. Okay, and what they do is just they don't knit the needles that are out and hold. Okay, and then you have your stitch dial. And this just changes the size of the stitches. Some people call it, or a lot of people call it, your tension dial. Okay, your actual tension dial is up there on the mast. Okay, this is the stitch dial, or the stitch cam. Okay, but when people say tension 6 or tension 8, that's what they're normally talking about, just because it's easier. Okay, so things to know about that. When you're using one yarn, you're going to set it for whatever it should be. Let's say you're using worsted weight. I'm going to use between probably 8 and 10 depending on the yarn. Okay, if you're using real fine yarn, you can use anywhere from 0 to 3, 0 to 2 probably. But if it's super fine, you're going to want to stay down around 0. But you'll figure all those out. It's got a picture in the book too. You can just lay the yarn on top of the picture and it will tell you what your stitch settings should be. Okay. Now, if you're going to do Fair Isle, then you're going to have to consider both yarns. Not actually just the stitch, but when they're combined, how thick it's going to be. So if you're using 2 worsted weight yarns, you're going to really be way up here. If you're using 2 medium weight yarns, let's say you're normally at 3, you might want to move up to 5 or 6, okay? Because you're doubling the size of the yarn. Other than that, that's pretty easy. Now, one thing that I want to tell you with your Singers, Studios, and Silver Reeds is if you've had a punch card in here and you've left your side levers back, you're going to risk that the pattern still may be in the drums, okay? And so until you actually knit something, you won't know that. But so I always suggest go across the bed a couple times with no card in there, locked or not locked, whatever, and that way it clears out the memory on your pattern drums. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for a second and I'm going to thread things up. Actually, before I do that, let me go through something else with you. Okay, first off, you've got the bed. And on your bed, you're going to see these little diamonds and these little X's, okay? Notice there's an X right here at the 0. The X's always are going to be the center of the pattern, the stitch pattern that you've selected, okay? And that stitch pattern is going to be 12 stitches, so it's going to go from this diamond to this diamond and start again, and it's going to go from here to there, with the center being there and the center being there. So you'll know where exactly your pattern is going to be knitting. So from here to there is the pattern, and here is the center of the pattern.